Remember, during the coronavirus crisis, to shelter in place, maintain your space, and when in public, cover your face. This video was produced following all social distancing protocols.
What's going on, everyone? It's Joseph from Lake Perris State Recreation Area, and today we're going to do something super exciting that we haven't done in even our in-person tours. We're going to be taking a survey of some of the archaeological sites within Lake Perris State Recreation Area. This is a great opportunity to learn about the cultural history of the first peoples of our valley, the Cahuilla and the Luiseno Indians. Now, these sites we're going to take you to include a pictograph rock, petroglyph, and also to a deep bedrock mortar. So remember that archaeological sites are by their very nature fragile environments, and we want to make sure to always stay on trail, to respect them from a distance, and to never come in any physical contact with them. Now, further protection, most of these sites are kept in a discreet location because unfortunately many have been vandalized. However, two of the ones we're going to visit today are publicly accessible when the park reopens. Alright, so I'm here at Pictograph Rock on the east end of Lake Perris off the bike path. You may be wondering what a pictograph is. And a pictograph is a Native American painting made out of organic materials, typically on a natural substrate. Usually they have some kind of spiritual or religious significance to them. So we're going to take a look at this one I have behind me that is publicly accessible and labeled. And we're going to talk about it and what it means up close. So let's go take a look. All right, so here's the sign here, Pictograph Rock. And let's take a look from afar. See if you guys can point it out first. Well, there it is right there. As you can see, kind of, let me see if I can trace it with my finger. This whole section right here, down and then to the side and up, that is the pictograph. Now, what is it? We're not entirely sure. So pictographs, like I said, are usually a ritual or spiritual significant form of artwork. Now, what we know about this one is that based on local other archaeological sites, it's likely associated with a coming of age ritual. So you may be wondering, how did the Native Americans get paint in this valley in order to create this piece of art? Well, it's made out of a variety of different sources. So the first one would be iron oxide, which is typically just taken off of a rock right here. You can see some of our soil, if you go up close, is already kind of reddish. And when granite decomposes or any kind of rock with iron, it takes that kind of iron oxide reddish compound on it. So that's your first step. Next, you can add different seeds, berries that are reddish. Also, you can add blood of either animals or people. And then finally, water. So this creates this substrate that can be thousands of years old. They can remain on natural edifices, and this is an example of one of them. So we don't know exactly how old this one is, but we can guess it's at least centuries, perhaps even a couple thousand years old. But there's no date for certain. Now, what tribes would have made this? This would have been either the Cahuilla or Luiseno tribes, likely. And it's not likely that it's older than 2,000 years old, because we know that the Native American, Luiseno, and Cahuilla tribes in this area were here about 1000 BC at the earliest. So before that, we're not entirely sure. But as you can see, it's in a beautiful natural surrounding. And here it is. We are here now at the Bernasconi Pass Petroglyph. And this is different from the pictograph in that a petroglyph is carved out of stone, and it's typically carved by a stone as well. So they're both works of art, but their processes are a little bit different. So this petroglyph, which comes from the Greek word petros, which means rock, is also associated, like the pictograph, with likely a coming of age ritual. And these petroglyphs, along with pictographs, are the most obvious representations of Native American art that we have today. Now, like we said earlier, lots of different places in Lake Perris have these sites. Unfortunately, many of them are vandalized. So only these two sites that we've showed you today, of at least for the pictograph and the petroglyph, are the publicly accessible sites. So we can observe it up close. See here.
And this is our Bernasconi Pass petroglyph. Now, the other thing that is noteworthy is that this was actually originally not here. This stone was moved from Bernasconi Pass Road, which is right over here. And it was actually just at the top where they were carving the road out in the 1950s, and they moved it here to get out of the way. Now, since then, we've learned that moving archaeological sites are very culturally damaging, because it takes away the original significance of the sites, whatever it might have been. And so today, the best policy and the practice policy among archaeologists is to let those ancient reminders continue to be there, since they've been there for so long. There's no harm in leaving them there. So along with archaeologists and native tribes around the area and the first peoples who inhabit much of the Inland Empire, these petroglyphs, pictographs, are very important and significant treasures in California's history. So I'm here at one of the most precious parts of our park, and this is one of the hearts of our archaeological resources here. And this is the site of a deep bedrock mortar. Now, as you might guess, a deep bedrock mortar is a food processing center. And this is where the Native American peoples in our valley, the Luiseno and the Kuya, processed food, and specifically acorns, seeds, berries, but these most likely were for acorns from oak trees. So the way you would make something like this, as you can see it, is these holes are pretty deep. They go down pretty far down into the ground. And I'm not going to touch it in order to preserve its heritage. But these sites right here are made by building a small fire on top of here, and you can actually see right here, there's a little groove right here. A small fire would be built right here, and it would be quickly extinguished with water. You would get a stone, and you would grind that down, and that would start creating a groove in the rock, because the molecular structure of the rock, when it's quickly heated and quickly made cold, becomes very unstable. And so you make those small fires, you put them out, and you continue that process, and eventually you can get deep holes like these. Now each family would have one of these holes, and they would be the ones that would be in charge of processing the acorns for their specific group. So I'll go ahead and pan over to all of them, so you can kind of get a feel and a sense of the ancient sense of time right here. Very, very old, precious resources here in the park.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour of some of the archaeological sites of our park. And like I said at the beginning, and as we stressed throughout the trip, that these are fragile, precious sites. They are centuries, if not thousands of years old, and all of them require our utmost care, respect, and ultimately our efforts in preservation in the state park system and other nonprofits, alongside with Native American tribes, to protect this very fragile resource. So we want to remember that Native American culture today is just as vibrant as it was in the Perris Valley era when we saw these sites. And if you look at some of our Native American communities, such as Pechanga, such as Morongo, such as Soboba, such as Los Coyotes, there are so many different reservations here where Native American culture, Native American life is thriving, but not just on the reservations, it's thriving throughout our communities as well. So we want to remember the great heritage that our first peoples have here in our region, and we're very grateful to be able to share this information, this resource, this special treasure with you, our visitors. So please remember, when the museum is back open after the end of the coronavirus, please come on up so you can experience this incredible, enduring heritage for your own. Thank you.